Good day everyone and welcome back to another video of the 2021 Nestbox series. And you have all probably gathered that we lose another chick, unfortunately. And Biddy does actually remove the second chick, so I'll give you good warning when that is about to happen. But on the 14th, or on the morning of the 14th should I say, both chicks were good and healthy. And we can see Miley here bringing in some food for their first feed of the day. This day played out like any other, but then the second half of the day was quite wet, with a lot of rain unfortunately. So it started off quite good. There was a lot of food being brought in, as we can see here Miley feeding the chicks, along with Biddy. I always think it's amazing how much Miley watches what's going on. He a lot of the time just sits there looking at the chicks being fed. And it'll be very interesting to see how his behaviour differ from Mork's behaviour when Mindy's and Mork's chicks hatch. Hopefully there's less watching and more gathering of food. And I don't think Miley on this Father's Day is going to be getting any cards. Poor Miley just really can't catch a break. He really was putting in good effort at the start of the day. He was bringing in plenty of food, and I thought he had maybe turned over a new leaf. And I suppose we do always have to remember that it could be just a shortage of food, causing him to bring in less food than we would be normally seeing. And saying that, we only see a green caterpillar coming in there now. That is only the second or maybe third green caterpillar that I've seen being brought in. It could be very well the case that they missed the boat on the green caterpillars, or even were too early. So again, that's going to be really interesting to see the difference with Mindy and Mork's nest. So I've said this before in previous videos, but just if you're new to the videos, these birds always try to correlate the hatching of their eggs, or their hatching of their chicks, with the abundance of caterpillars found in spring on the trees. So if the weather is predictable and plays by the rule book, they're generally able to correlate it quite well. But this year's been an unusual spring, and weather has been quite changeable, and we got a lot of heavy rain during these weeks. You can hear it around 10 to 5 here, the rain outside now. And as these birds primarily feed off trees, bushes and shrubs, and even buildings, the rain washes those critters off the trees and shrubs, and then it's very difficult for them to find any food. And with all this kind of paints a picture of maybe what's happening to Biddy and Miley's nest. For all we know, they could be brilliant parents, it's just the year at hand playing against them. But we can see here at 6 o'clock, both chicks seem alive and well. If hungry, if nothing else. And we can see at 6:30, it's still raining cats and dogs. And I really do think that this weather really did play a part as for why one of the chicks didn't make it through the night. We can see Miley here bringing in some food at around 5 to 7, and surprisingly we see Biddy in the next sequence bringing in more nesting material. And one of those chicks desperately needs a feed, as it's not going to unfortunately last the night. And you can see both two chicks there gaping for food, so they're clearly hungry little chicks. So before we go to the next morning, let's all head over to our safe place, Mork's and Mindy's. Mindy is still incubating her eggs, and is just again making it ever softer. Her eggs are due to hatch in around 7 to 8 days. And so her days consist of sitting on the eggs, turning the eggs, and then popping out every so often to make maintenance on the nest. So did Mindy do the right thing in waiting to start building her nest? If you have been following the series, you know she started her nest building quite late compared to Biddy's. So how will that decision stand to her? Will there be more food for when her chicks hatch in roughly a week's time? Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see for that one. But what I will say is, this bird Mindy sure knows how to get herself cozy. So I had a few people ask what happens to the waste that happens in the middle of the night. Well, you can see Biddy here sticking it to the wall of the nest. And then at 4 o'clock deciding to take it out. And at this time, I really do believe that we have already lost that second last chick. As from now on, you only see the one chick gaping for food. That little fella there. And as night turns to day, it becomes very apparent that we only have one chick left in the nest. And Biddy hasn't removed the other chick just yet. It is actually sitting there at the bottom of the nest at this time. And just to give you some warning now, Biddy is about to try to remove the chick, so a bit of viewer discretion is advised. As the chicks get older, they get harder and harder for these birds to actually remove. And quite a few years ago, I had chicks die when they were quite old and too big for the parents' bird to carry out. And what unfolded was one of the more gruesome years that I've ever seen. The parents had to pick apart the chicks to bring them out in bits. I'm very thankful I wasn't running that series back then. It certainly wouldn't have been a nice story to tell. But what it does do is show us that these birds know that they need to do this to help prevent the spread of disease. So Biddy is actually unsuccessful in bringing the chick out at around 5:20. I've noticed as in previous years, they seem to have awful trouble in getting a good grip on the dead chick. So she gives up for now and tries again in about 40 minutes. And finally, at 6:10, she manages to get the chick out. And just look on the outside camera when she leaves with the chick, just how heavy that chick weighs her down. She drops straight down below the nest. We see Miley come straight in with a bit of food for the last remaining chick. So Biddy and Miley's hopes all weigh on this one chick. They certainly have had not good luck when it comes to raising young. Last year, Biddy got trapped in the nest, as I'm sure some of you have seen. And right now, she's down to her last. Watch Miley here again, really intently looking at the chicks being fed. I wonder, is he trying to teach himself how it's done properly? It'll be interesting to see again if Mork follows this behaviour. I do think there is a little bit of inexperience at play here between the two birds. We see Biddy here leave at 4, and Miley coming in with some food, thankfully. But if you watch when Biddy returns a few minutes later, she brings in more nesting material. It's not unusual for birds to keep tabs on the nest, but this chick, I'm sure, would be better off with a mouthful of food. I often wonder, is it the case that when she leaves, she doesn't find any food and grabs material instead, just to bring something back to the nest? You see Miley here at 5:15, thankfully bringing in some food, and gets rewarded with a fecal sack. But decides not to take it out for whatever reason. It was another miserable day weather-wise, and you can see that it was pretty dark. At 6:10, the night camera was actually turning on. So Mindy and Mork's nest played out pretty much the same as their previous days. Mindy has been coming in and out with nesting material, but primarily sitting on the eggs like this all day. And pretty much just looking cozy all day. So to recap, Biddy and Miley's down to their last chick. Mindy and Mork's eggs are due to hatch in about a week. And look out for the next video, as it's going to be an interesting one. So with that, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're enjoying the videos, please subscribe. And with that, I'll leave you with Mindy looking terribly comfy. Thank you, bye bye.